Reading is one of the most effective ways to learn English. When you read, you expose yourself to new words, phrases, and sentence structures. This helps you understand how the language works. You also see how words are used in different contexts. This makes it easier to remember them and use them correctly in conversation. Reading regularly will improve your vocabulary and comprehension skills. Another reason why reading is important is that it helps with pronunciation. When you read, you become familiar with how words are written. This makes it easier to recognize them when you hear them. You can also read aloud to practice your pronunciation. This will help you speak more clearly and confidently. Reading books, articles, and even subtitles can improve your listening and speaking skills. Reading also helps you think in English. When you read in English, your brain processes the language naturally. Over time, you start to think in English without translating. This is a crucial step in becoming fluent. Thinking in English helps you respond faster in conversations. It also makes learning new words and grammar easier. The more you read, the more natural English will feel. In addition, reading helps you understand different cultures. Language is connected to culture, and books can teach you about traditions, customs, and ways of thinking. This will help you communicate better with native speakers. Understanding cultural differences makes learning a language more interesting. It also helps you feel more confident in real-life conversations. Finally, reading is a fun and enjoyable way to learn English. You can choose topics that interest you, such as fiction, science, history, or travel. This makes learning more enjoyable and motivating. When you enjoy reading, you'll want to read more. The more you read, the faster you will improve your English skills. Reading is a powerful tool for mastering the language. Chapter 2: Expanding Your Vocabulary. Reading is an excellent way to learn new words. When you read different types of texts, you are exposed to a variety of vocabulary. Books, articles, and news introduce you to words that you might not hear in daily conversations. This helps you expand your vocabulary naturally. The more words you know, the easier it is to express yourself in English. A great way to remember new words is to write them down. Keep a vocabulary notebook where you list new words and their meanings. Try to use these words in sentences. This helps you remember them better. You can also use flashcards to practice. Reviewing words regularly will help you learn them faster. Reading helps you discover new words in context, making them easier to understand. Context is important when learning vocabulary. When you read, you see how words are used in real sentences. This helps you understand their meanings more clearly. Instead of memorizing long lists of words, reading allows you to learn naturally. You will see words in different situations, which makes them easier to remember. This is why reading is better than just studying vocabulary lists. Reading also introduces you to synonyms and antonyms. Knowing different ways to say the same thing makes your English richer. For example, instead of always saying happy, you can use words like joyful, cheerful, or delighted. This makes your speech and writing more interesting. Reading different materials will help you discover a variety of words. To improve your vocabulary even more, try reading out loud. This helps you practice pronunciation and remember words better. You can also try summarizing what you read. This forces you to use new words and reinforce your learning. Reading is a great way to learn new vocabulary and become a better English speaker. Chapter 3: Improving Grammar Through Reading. Reading is one of the best ways to improve your grammar. When you read, you see correct sentence structures naturally. This helps you understand how grammar works without memorizing rules. You learn how sentences are formed and how words are used together. Reading helps you recognize patterns in English grammar. Grammar books can be useful, but reading real texts is more effective. Books, articles, and stories show you grammar in action. Instead of studying complicated rules, you see how native speakers use English. This makes it easier to remember grammar naturally. The more you read, the better your grammar will become. Reading also helps with verb tenses. You see how past, present, and future tenses are used in different situations. This makes it easier to use them correctly when speaking and writing. When you read, pay attention to verbs and how they change. This will help you understand grammar rules without much effort. Another benefit of reading is learning sentence structure. English sentences follow specific patterns, and reading helps you recognize them. You learn how to form questions, negatives, and different types of sentences. This improves your writing and speaking skills. The more you read, the more natural your English will sound. To improve your grammar through reading, try writing down sentences that you find interesting. Analyze how they are structured and try to create similar sentences. This practice will help reinforce grammar rules in your mind. Reading is an easy and enjoyable way to improve your grammar skills. Chapter 4: Enhancing Comprehension Skills. Reading helps improve your understanding of English. When you read different types of texts, you practice interpreting information. This strengthens your comprehension skills. Understanding English is essential for effective communication. The better you understand, the easier it is to have conversations. One way to improve comprehension is by reading different materials. Try books, newspapers, blogs, and magazines. Each type of text exposes you to different writing styles. This helps you adapt to different ways English is used. The more you read, the more comfortable you become with the language. Reading also helps you develop critical thinking skills. When you read, you analyze ideas and opinions. This helps you form your own thoughts in English. Thinking critically improves both your speaking and writing skills. It allows you to express yourself more clearly and confidently. Another technique to improve comprehension is summarizing. After reading, try to explain what you understood. This forces you to process information and express it in your own words. Summarizing helps reinforce learning. It also improves your ability to recall information in conversations. To make reading even more effective, ask yourself questions while reading. Try to predict what will happen next. This keeps you engaged and helps you understand better. Reading actively improves your comprehension skills and makes learning English more enjoyable. Chapter 5, Building Confidence in English. Reading helps you feel more confident in English. When you read regularly, you become familiar with the language. This makes speaking and writing easier. You start to feel more comfortable using English in daily life. Confidence is key to learning a new language. Reading aloud is a great way to build confidence. When you read out loud, you practice pronunciation and fluency. This helps you get used to speaking English. You also hear how words sound, which improves your listening skills. The more you read, the more confident you will become. Another way reading builds confidence is by increasing knowledge. When you read, you learn about different topics. This gives you more things to talk about in conversations. You will feel more prepared to discuss various subjects. Knowing more words and ideas makes speaking easier. Reading also reduces the fear of making mistakes. When you read often, you see that English has many ways to say the same thing. This helps you feel more relaxed when speaking. You realize that mistakes are part of learning. Confidence grows as you practice more. In conclusion, reading is an essential tool for learning English. It improves vocabulary, grammar, comprehension, and confidence. The more you read, the better your English will become. Reading is a fun and effective way to master the language. Chapter 6, Developing Better Writing Skills. Reading and writing are deeply connected, and improving one skill naturally enhances the other. When you read consistently, you are exposed to well-structured sentences, correct grammar, and a variety of writing styles. This exposure helps you understand how to organize ideas, use punctuation properly, and express yourself clearly. The more you read, the more you internalize these patterns, which makes writing in English feel more natural and effortless. One of the most effective ways to improve your writing through reading is by paying attention to sentence structure and word choice. When you come across a sentence or paragraph that you find particularly well written, take a moment to analyze it. Look at how the author constructs their sentences, how they transition between ideas, and how they use different vocabulary. Try writing your own version of a sentence or paragraph using similar techniques. This practice will help you develop a more sophisticated writing style over time. Reading also introduces you to different writing styles and tones. Fiction books, news articles, academic essays, and informal blog posts all have unique ways of communicating. By exposing yourself to various types of writing, you learn how to adjust your tone and style, depending on the situation. This skill is essential for effective communication, whether you're writing an email, an essay, or a casual message. Another excellent way to improve your writing through reading is by summarizing what you read. After finishing a chapter of a book or an article, try writing a short summary in your own words. This exercise forces you to process information actively, recall key points, and express them clearly. It also helps reinforce new vocabulary and grammar structures, making them easier to use in your own writing. To take your learning even further, consider keeping a journal where you write about what you read, your thoughts on different topics, or even your daily experiences in English. Writing regularly allows you to practice and apply what you learn from reading. Over time, you will notice significant improvements in your ability to express yourself in English, both in writing and speaking. Chapter 7. Learning English naturally. One of the biggest advantages of reading is that it allows you to learn English in a natural and intuitive way. Instead of relying on memorization or rigid grammar rules, you acquire the language the same way native speakers do, by being exposed to it regularly in meaningful contexts. This method is far more effective than simply studying from textbooks because it immerses you in the real use of the language. When you read a book, an article, or even social media posts in English, you absorb the way words are used in real conversations and written communication. You see how grammar works without needing to study complex explanations, and you become familiar with common expressions, idioms, and sentence structures. This exposure helps you internalize the language naturally, making it easier to recall and use correctly when you speak or write. Another important benefit of learning through reading is that it helps you develop an intuitive sense of language correctness. After reading enough material, you will start to recognize when a sentence sounds right or feels wrong without necessarily knowing the exact grammar rule behind it. This is the same way native speakers develop their language skills, through exposure and practice rather than conscious memorization. Additionally, reading provides a stress-free learning environment. Unlike speaking, where you might feel pressure to respond quickly, or listening, where words can be difficult to catch, reading allows you to learn at your own pace. You can take your time to process new vocabulary, reread difficult sentences, and look up words you don't understand. This makes reading a low-pressure but highly effective way to build your English skills. To make the most of this learning approach, try reading a variety of materials, from books and articles to online forums and subtitles in movies. The more diverse your reading sources, the more well-rounded your English skills will become. Over time, you will find yourself thinking and understanding English more effortlessly without having to translate in your head. Chapter 8. Strengthening listening and speaking skills. While reading is often seen as a separate skill from listening and speaking, It actually plays a crucial role in improving both. When you read regularly, you familiarize yourself with the way English is structured and spoken, which helps you develop better listening comprehension and speaking fluency. One way reading helps with listening is by making it easier to recognize words when you hear them. Many English learners struggle with listening because spoken words often sound different from how they are written. However, when you read frequently, you become more familiar with the visual representation of words and their possible pronunciations. This makes it easier to identify them when you hear them in conversations, movies, or audio recordings. Reading aloud is another excellent way to bridge the gap between reading and speaking. By reading out loud, you practice pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation, which are essential for clear communication. This technique also helps build confidence, as it allows you to hear yourself speaking English in a structured and controlled way. The more you practice, the more natural and fluent your speech will become. Another way to connect reading with speaking is by engaging in discussions about what you read. Try summarizing a book or article in your own words and discussing it with a language partner or tutor. This forces you to think in English and express ideas clearly. It also helps reinforce the vocabulary and grammar structures you've encountered in your reading. To further strengthen your listening and speaking skills, consider using audiobooks or listening to podcasts while following along with the transcript. This allows you to connect spoken and written English, improving both comprehension and pronunciation. By integrating reading with listening and speaking practice, you will develop a more complete and natural understanding of the language. Chapter 9. Staying motivated and enjoying the process. One of the most important aspects of learning English through reading is maintaining motivation. Learning a language is a long journey, and staying engaged with interesting materials can make the process enjoyable rather than frustrating. To stay motivated, choose reading materials that genuinely interest you. Whether you enjoy fiction, science, history, or self-improvement books, reading about topics you love will make learning feel less like a chore. If a book feels too difficult, try using graded readers, books designed for language learners at different levels. These books allow you to enjoy stories while still learning at a comfortable pace. Setting goals can also help maintain motivation. For example, you can set a goal to read a certain number of pages each day or finish one book per month. Tracking your progress will give you a sense of accomplishment and keep you motivated to continue. Another way to stay engaged is by joining a reading group or online community where people discuss books in English. Interacting with others who share your interest in learning English can provide support, encouragement, and additional practice opportunities. Most importantly, remind yourself that learning a language takes time and consistency. Even if progress feels slow at times, every page you read brings you one step closer to fluency. By making reading an enjoyable habit, you will continue to improve your English skills naturally and effectively. Chapter 10: The Power of Reading in Mastering English. Reading is one of the most effective ways to master English, and its benefits go far beyond just recognizing words on a page. It strengthens every aspect of language learning, including vocabulary, grammar, comprehension, writing, listening, and even speaking skills. Unlike traditional study methods that rely on memorization and repetition, reading allows learners to absorb the language naturally, making the learning process more enjoyable, effective, and long-lasting. Whether you are a beginner or an advanced learner, incorporating reading into your daily routine can accelerate your progress and bring you closer to fluency. One of the greatest advantages of reading is that it constantly introduces new words and phrases in meaningful contexts. Unlike word lists, which provide definitions without real usage, reading helps learners understand how words function in sentences, how they interact with other words, and how their meanings change depending on the situation. For example, the word run can mean to physically move fast, but in different contexts, it can mean to manage a business or to operate a machine. By encountering these variations in books, articles, and stories, learners develop a deeper and more intuitive understanding of English vocabulary. Beyond vocabulary, reading also serves as an excellent way to internalize grammar rules without consciously studying them. When learners repeatedly see correct sentence structures, verb tenses, and punctuation used properly, their brains start recognizing patterns and absorbing the rules naturally. Over time, they begin to feel when a sentence is correct or incorrect, even if they can't immediately explain why. This is how native speakers learn their language, not by memorizing grammar books, but by being constantly exposed to correct usage in real-world situations. The more learners read, the easier it becomes to form grammatically accurate sentences in both writing and speech. Another key benefit of reading is its impact on comprehension skills. Many English learners struggle with understanding spoken English because the words and phrases they hear sound unfamiliar. However, regular reading increases exposure to commonly used expressions, idioms, and sentence structures, making it easier to recognize them in conversations, movies, and podcasts. For example, if a learner frequently encounters the phrase, "it's up to you," in books, they will immediately understand its meaning when they hear someone say it. Additionally, reading improves the ability to infer meaning from context, which is a crucial skill for fluent communication. Moreover, reading significantly enhances writing abilities. When learners read diverse texts, from novels and news articles to essays and blogs, they observe different writing styles, tones, and formats. This exposure helps them understand how to structure sentences, develop paragraphs, and organize ideas coherently. Writing naturally improves as learners subconsciously adopt the sentence patterns and vocabulary they have encountered through reading. For those who want to refine their writing skills even further, actively practicing writing about what they read, such as summarizing a book, analyzing an article, or expressing personal opinions, can be incredibly beneficial. In addition to its direct impact on language skills, reading also plays a crucial psychological role in language learning. Many learners feel anxious about speaking English because they fear making mistakes. However, when they read frequently, they gain confidence in their ability to understand and use the language. This confidence makes it easier to engage in conversations, write essays, and even think in English. Furthermore, reading can be a stress-free and enjoyable way to learn. Unlike speaking or listening, which require real-time comprehension, reading allows learners to take their time, reread sentences, and look up unfamiliar words at their own pace. To maximize the benefits of reading, learners should choose materials that match their interests and proficiency level. Reading something engaging, whether it's a novel, a magazine, or an online forum, keeps motivation high and makes the learning process feel less like a chore. Additionally, gradually increasing the difficulty of reading materials helps learners expand their vocabulary and comprehension skills over time. For those who struggle with complex texts, graded readers, or bilingual books can be a great starting point. Another effective technique is reading aloud, which improves pronunciation, rhythm, and fluency while reinforcing word recognition. Ultimately, mastering English through reading is not just about improving language skills. It's about transforming the way learners interact with the language. By making reading a daily habit, learners can immerse themselves in English, develop a deeper connection with the language, and gain the confidence needed to use it fluently. Whether the goal is to communicate effectively in everyday situations, excel in academic writing, or enjoy English literature, reading provides the foundation for long-term success. The key is consistency, curiosity, and a willingness to explore the endless world of knowledge that reading offers.